All right, welcome everybody. Here we are at another Facebook Live. Today I'm really excited because we're going to be doing an experiment, and I really like the analytical side of agility. This is actually an experiment that I've thought about many times and never actually set up and systematically worked through until today. So I'm really excited to share it with you guys. We're going to be looking at a choice on this sequence, and then we're going to be adjusting just one thing about the sequence and seeing how that affects the choice. I'm going to take just a second and walk over here and check our comments to see if we have any comments coming up here. If you could leave me a thumbs up or a heart, if you can see and hear everything here. We're going to see if we can get the comments up today. Oh yay, I got a hello and I've got a thumbs up. So it looks like we're good to go. Yeah, there is a delay. There's always going to be a delay with live video between when you comment and when I see it. All right, so welcome everybody again. For those of you who are just joining, we've only been live for like a minute, and I like to give people a moment to stop in. My cameraman over here will look at the comments. Everybody can see and hear? All right, we're doing good today with the technology. Okay, and before we get started, why don't you just give me a shout out if you listened to this last week's podcast. It was on management versus training with special guest Sarah Baker, and it was an interesting podcast because management is something that I think about with puppies, and she made me realize that we're doing it all the time in agility throughout a dog's career, management versus training. All right, let's get started with our sequence here. So I have a short sequence set up here. And it starts with a tunnel. Let me set my bar here. Starts with a tunnel, and this number 2 jump is the backside. So we want the dog to go to the backside of this jump, and then this is going to be our number 3 jump. All right, I got a thumbs up from inside on the sound as well. And what we want to look at is which way is faster on this number 2 jump. And coming from this tunnel, as the dog is going to come out of this tunnel entrance here, so they're pointed really nicely at this wing for the backside. So when we look at this choice, our dogs can go backside, slice, and turn the outside of that jump to this final jump. Our dogs can do a full loop-de-loop wrap here to this jump. And we could take our dogs, as they're coming out of this tunnel, we could send them to the far wing and slice this way and then head back to that jump. In today's experiment, we're just going to look at 2 of these. We're going to be looking at the various obvious slice where the dog is coming out of the tunnel and we take this nice path to this wing, slice this way, and head to that jump. And we're going to compare that to this loop-de-loop wrap. And where the experiment comes in is that we're going to change this jump right here, where it is, because this is one of the factors in which way is going to be fastest. So when we look at a choice, we want to look at the distances that the dog is covering, the angles to the next obstacle, and the loop versus the slice. So the loop versus the slice is easy. The slice always wins. Just in isolation, a loop-loop wrap versus a slice, the dog is going to finish the slice faster. So the slice always wins. So then the next thing you're going to look at is distance and angles to the next thing. And so the way that we have this set up right now is actually experiment number 2, but I wanted to show you starting here because for setup purposes, I like setting up experiment number 2 first, because basically the jump 2 and jump 3 are in a line. So they're exactly in front of each other, and then everything else moves from that. So this is experiment number 2, and what I'm going to do in these experiments is we're going to move this jump by 4 feet for every experiment. And so let's start off with experiment 1. I have a 4-foot bar, so I can just flip my bar and put my jump over here. This jump is still in frame, Isaac? All right. And so on this experiment number 1, I want everybody to put in the comments the number 1 for experiment 1, and then whether you think the slice or the wrap or the loop-de-loop wrap is the fastest. So you can just say like 1 slice or 1 curl. So go ahead and put your thoughts in the comments right now. We're going to run this. But when we look at this, we're going to see that once I move the jump over to that side, when the dog slices, they actually have the shortest path to the next jump. When they loop-de-loop, they have the longer path to the next jump. So this should make it obvious to us that this number 1 experiment should be pretty easy. It should be the slice, because there is no advantage to the loop-de-loop wrap. It gives a longer path. It's harder to do a loop than a slice. We actually don't have to worry too much about where we're going next, because this is the final jump of our exercise. And I did that to kind of reduce the number of variables on our experiment. So there's no advantage to the loop-de-loop wrap. It should not be faster. It should not be faster for your dog, no matter how well they wrap. I feel pretty confident on this first experiment that all of you are going to end up with the slice being faster. So we're going to run this, and so then the question is, by how much? And then as we go through experiments 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we're going to do this 6 times. We're going to move this jump over and over and over and over and over, and figure out at what point, if ever, does the loop-de-loop wrap become the better choice given the first 2 obstacles, and then where we put obstacle number 3. So that's the setup of our experiment. I'm going to go ahead and go get Venture, and we're going to start running these. We're going to do live demo, and then we have pre-tape from earlier today side by side, so that you can see the slice versus the wrap for all 6 of these exercises. All right, so give me 1 second here to get a dog. All right, is my mic back, Isaac? Okay, comments look good? Everybody can see in here? Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to just start off here. You can put up the label for experiment 1, Isaac. Done? Okay, good. Get. Ready. Tunnel. Here, 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 here. Over. Oh. Oh, of course. Live, live, live. Get. Tunnel. Here, 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 here. Over. Over. Good boy. We've got 2 bars down, but that is the path that we're looking at. So now we're going to compare that to the loop-de-loop wrap. It is a little bit wet out here. We were not even sure we were going to be able to do the live because of some early rain. But we managed to get our taping in. We figured we would run with pre-taped stuff if we had to. Give. Ready. Tunnel. Push, 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 push. Over. Good boy. Oh, Mike. All right. So let me get my mic back on here. All right, so there we have experiment number 1. And Isaac, go ahead and show us the side-by-side for experiment 1. So here we're just checking the timing here. And it looks like 0.72 seconds advantage to the slice here. So that's experiment number 1, and now we are going to move our jump by 4 feet. This is going to be the 2 jumps in line with each other. And now one thing to recognize when you have 2 jumps that are in line to each other, the distance after the dog wraps and after they slice is equivalent to the jump. Both sides, the dog is going to be coming towards the jump this way, towards the jump this way. So of course, if there's more to the course, then the changes in angle of the dog taking this last jump would affect the timing even more. It might blunt it depending on where it was going next, or it might exasperate it and make it even worse. So here we have experiment number 2. Got the label up. All right. Give. Tunnel, tunnel, tunnel. Here, 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 here. Over, over. Good boy. All right, there's our slice. So we always are going to do slice first, wrap second. Tunnel, tunnel, tunnel. Push, 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 push. Over. Good boy. All right, experiment number 2. Now let's do the side by side. So here you're going to see I'm going to let the slice dog get to the jump and then put on the timer and fast forward the other one. So now we have about 0.59 seconds is the difference here. So somebody asked, would I expect the same time difference with a small dog? I think every dog's time difference is different. So that's why this is a really great experiment for you to run at home and find out where, if at all, where it becomes better to do the loop. That may change from dog to dog, and then by how much of a difference are these decisions, and that's going to change from dog to dog. It's going to depend on how fast your dog is in general. It's going to depend on how fast your dog is in the flat, whether longer distances allow your dog to open up and really put in a burst of speed, or whether it's a disadvantage because maybe your dog has a shorter, smaller stride, maybe even compared to other dogs in your height class. So I tend to think that within a height class, the shortest range is at a disadvantage on the flat to the larger range of the same jump height. And so as you get longer distances to the next obstacle, those are going to come into play. All right, so that was experiment number 2. We saw for my dog, there's still a significant advantage to the slice. And so now we're going to set up for experiment number 3. Isaac, you can put that label up. And everybody who's watching, for each of these, you can go ahead and guess as I'm setting it up whether you think the wrap is faster or the slice is faster. So looking at number 3, now for the first time we have a distance advantage to the loop-de-loop wrap. We now have a shorter distance to the number 3 jump using the loop-de-loop than we do the slice. So this is the first one where you have to start to question, because now you have some advantage to the loop-de-loop, and the question is it enough of advantage to outweigh the inherent disadvantage of a loop versus a slice? So this is experiment number 3, right, Isaac? Okay, experiment number 3, so you can put in the comments 3 and whether you think the slice or the wrap is going to be faster. Good boy. Give. Good boy. Tunnel, tunnel, tunnel. Here, 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 here. Over. Over. Good boy. Good job. Give. Tunnel, tunnel, tunnel. Push, 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 push. Over. Good boy. All right, that's number 3. Let's see the side by side. All right, so there's a couple of people now thinking that the wrap could be faster. For my dog, this is still an advantage to the slice.
It was mostly wrap until you started running.
Oh, it was mostly wrap until I started running, yeah. All right, so about 1/3 of a second still advantage to the wrap. So we're going to move this to the side once more, and now we can see that every time we move this jump over, we are increasing that yardage difference on the slice. So now that slice, there's it's nice to give the dog the slice, but we are then giving them a lot of extra yardage compared to the loop-de-loop wrap. And it just gets worse and worse as we keep moving the jump this way. All right, so experiment number 4, we've got the label up, and put in your guess on whether you think it is going to be a slice or a wrap. For Venture, given what you've seen so far, you can also put what you think for your dog, because I would encourage each of you to download the exercises, which we'll have at the end of this live. Run this with your own dog, and let me know. Let me know like where it flipped from slice to wrap. And like what size dog you have. Maybe what size, what breed, and what experiment was the flipping point. Give. Ready? Tunnel. Here. Over. Good boy. Give. Tunnel. Push. Over. Good boy. All right, side by side. Experiment number 4. Okay, so we have some people that I see as several slices and one equal. One wrap, a couple of wraps. Equal. All right, so people think we're getting close to the tipping point here. And by my calculation here, it is 0.18 seconds. 0.18 seconds advantage to the slice still. Now this, am I back on camera? All right, this is part of the reason I wanted to do this experiment, because specifically for a slice versus a wrap in this kind of scenario, it can be shocking to people how big of an advantage there is to the slice and how extreme the difference in yardage has to be for the loop-de-loop wrap to make up for it. And so I would encourage you, no matter what size dog you have, try this out and figure out where that point is for you. And I would love to know. I think it would be very, very interesting for people to put in their breed, their height, and at what experiment point it switched from slice to wrap being the advantage. Now I'm going to let you in on a little insider's secret, which is when I first put this together, I just had 4 experiments, because I thought by the time we got to the, I am a person who I guess mentally defaults to slice. I mean, I have a large dog, slice usually is the fastest. So I'm always doing comparisons, but it is rare that I find a loop-de-loop that is the fastest, right? So I'm biased towards slice anyway, but I thought that by the time I got to experiment number 4, I had moved the jump enough that I was going to get an advantage to the loop, and I still didn't. So I had to come back out and add in experiment 5 and experiment 6 to show you guys, for me, where that point happens. So we were on 4, and I don't think I've switched it yet. So now we're going to go to experiment 5. And you've got our label, Isaac. All right. All right, buddy. Oh, get your toy right there. Finn, right here. Get. Give. Tunnel. Here. Over. Good boy. Good job. All right, so experiment 5. Do we think it is slice or loop? Ready? Tunnel. Push. Over. Good boy. All right, side by side.
Barely anyone guessed.
All right, so Gwendolyn says close but slice. Number 5 wrap for almost nothing. Yep, so this is, I mean, honestly, I would probably call this equal. This is like rounding error here with putting the timer up there. We're talking about 3/100ths of a second difference was what I timed it at, but I would generally call that a tie. So this is our point. This is how far we had to move this jump to even get a tie, just to get a tie, which means that the vast majority of time I'm going to be doing a slice to get the fastest time. But let's just do one more so we can kind of see if we continue with the trend, if we actually get a point where the loop is definitively faster. So here we go, 4 more feet over. Hey, buddy. Experiment number 6 coming up. Give. Tom. Here. Over. Good boy. Ready? Good boy. Good. Tunnel. Push. Over. Good boy. All right, so side by side time. All right, so now finally the loop is faster. Faster by, I have it at 16/100ths of a second. 16/100ths of a second difference with this particular setup. So I think that I hope that this is eye-opening for anybody who tends to default wrap. So I tend to default slice. I think for the people who default wrap, it is very eye-opening to see how much it takes to recover from a choice on course. How extreme the differences in distance have to be to make it worthwhile. Now there are lots of other tactical reasons to do wrap. So I like to say that I like to know what is fastest for my dog, but then you have to look at the situation and you have to know, is this a run where being clean is more important than the movement? Is this a winner-take-all run? These are all things that are going to go into your choice on whether you're going to do the fastest path or, for you, the safest path. And those may not always be the same thing. And in fact, I think one of the most interesting elements of course design is when there is a situation where you are pretty sure which way is faster, but the faster one is a lot riskier. And it really, it adds something to the game of agility when you have to make that decision for yourself and then live and die by the consequences, whether it be that you play it safe and don't place, or whether you go for it all and end up making a mistake, or whether you have like the ultimate run of glory where you have the fastest time in the class, taking the risky path and seeing that through. All right, so just for review, Isaac, go ahead and put the results up and I'll come over and look at the comments as well. So these were our 6 experiments, and sorry, I'm just reading through some of the comments. So these are the times we didn't get an advantage to the loop until we got to number 5, and I would love to see this for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the link to the download, and then I'm going to look at the comments and answer any that we need to answer. So go ahead and put that up. So if you go to baddogagility.com/experiment, you can download a PDF that has these 6, the layout for these 6 experiments. And again, I would love to hear how this works out for you. Really easy setup, tunnel, 2 jumps. And you're just going to move that number 3 jump only each time for each experiment. Okay. All right, so Karen says, great eye opener. Awesome, Karen, love it. Somebody says, this is great news because I don't like wraps. So I think wraps can be really pretty, and that's why I think, and when a dog wraps really, really well, it looks fast because it looks efficient, but the dog just has to slow down so much throughout the entire wrap and can't really speed up. Let's see. Aw, Paula says that she loves our family. Thank you. Oh, it's not on the screen, but yes, I've got 2 helpers out here. It's awesome. Jan says she would have never guessed wrap. Okay, so Danielle says he's taking off, let's see, he was taking off already on the slice. Seems the advantage, oh, sorry, it's moving. Might be almost immediately lost on the next obstacle. It depends on where the next obstacle is, because the other thing that you're going to get here are 2 different angles to this jump. So if this is the final jump, then game over. Like my numbers here are definitive, right? But depending on where the next obstacle is, you could absolutely lose the advantage. All right, just looking through here. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, we're looking at earlier. Got it. Okay, so yes, we do have a joke, I believe. Hannah, do you have a joke? Here, why don't you come to your joke and then we'll go back to comments here. Hold on, let me take off the one that's on the screen and go back to the camera, Isaac. And Hannah, what is your joke?
My joke is, what happened at the fruit salad race?
What happened at the fruit salad race? I don't know.
The oranges peeled out, the banana splits, and the cherry went to the pits.
Ah, good one. All right, there's your joke. There's your joke for the day. All right, now we're just going to go back and look at these comments. How many feet from neutral when we see the distance? Gwen was asking. So let's see. The neutral was the side by side here. I mean the straight up and down here. This was exercise 2, and then exercise 3 was 4 feet to the side of that. Exercise 4 was 8 feet to the side of that. Exercise 5 was 12 feet to the side of that. So I had to get to 12 feet to the left of the jumps being in line before the loop-de-loop wrap was faster, 12 feet. And, okay. Randall says he's not surprised by the results for this dog, but his would vary with his 2 dogs. He has 1 dog who is better on slices, 1 dog that is better on wraps. Okay, this is actually a really important point because I do think that there's a lot of dogs, I mean there are dogs that wrap so efficiently that the disadvantage of the wrap is not as much of a disadvantage as it would be for another dog. I believe it's still a disadvantage always to wrap versus slice, but it's not as much of a disadvantage, and so then your variations are going to be different. However, I don't think that there's any dog where exercise 1 is going to be faster on the wrap because you're increasing the distance to the next obstacle. So no matter what your dog does, if on any given situation, if you're sure your dog is going to be faster on a slice, I can come up with a scenario where your dog would definitely be faster with the wrap. And the same with the wrap. If you think your dog is faster on a wrap, I can come up with a scenario, depending on the angles of the jump and what comes next, where it is definitely faster to slice. And so that's why there's no dog that you just can say, I can always slice or I can always wrap. That's what this experiment shows. There is a point at which it switches, and it depends on the angles and the distances. So that's why I like to set up every choice that I come across. A lot of times, not to know which is fastest. I've set up enough that I am rarely surprised by what is fastest. But what I am sometimes surprised with is the difference in time. So how big, or in some cases how small, the difference in time is. I have looked at video that has been sent to me by students and done comparisons for them, and one choice that they made, and it might be 1.5 seconds. And they made that choice because they needed to do the loop-de-loop wrap so that they could, while the dog is taking that loop, they could get to somewhere else on course. Great, that is a very tactical decision, but you have to know that you're giving up 1.5 seconds in that situation on this particular one that I'm talking about. So always tape them, always compare them. I love the coach's eye as a tool because it makes timing them easy, and that's what we're using here. It's a $5 app in the App Store. The timer is another $5. This is on iOS. So for $10, you can import your video and you can slow it down. You can do side by side and you can do the timing. Let's take a look and see if there's any other questions here. Okay. Everybody loved the joke. All right. Is anybody else having a problem with the link not working? If so, I will make sure that I fix that and put it in the comments. All right. Oh, somebody asked, can you replace the tunnel with a jump? I think that you could. I guess I would replace it probably with 2 jumps. You just want to figure out how to arrange your jumps so that your dog is heading roughly to the same spot, roughly to this kind of empty space next to the jump, to kind of preserve the experiment, preserve the exercise. So you could also even use like a cone, where you would wrap your dog around the cone and do a threadle here, or you could send the dog around the cone front and do the back side. So you could use a cone instead of a tunnel there. Hey, buddy. He's like, what are we doing? When are we doing more stuff? All right. All right, I think that I got to most of the questions here. And we will also come behind and look. Oh, Barb asked, what are my thoughts about the slice being easier on the dog than the wrap? I think that it's probably physically less demanding. Do I think that that's a reason to choose one versus the other? No, I don't think that in the grand scheme of things, given how many jumps we ask our dogs to do, how many A-frames, how many weaves, how many everything, I don't think that your choice to wrap versus slice is going to have a negative effect on your dog. Now, I don't have data, and I'm very much a data person, so if there was a study that proved me wrong, I'd be very happy that there was a study, but I just don't see that being an issue compared to everything else that we do in agility. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up. That's the comments that I could quickly scan through and see. If I missed any other comments, I'll come behind and put those in. Isaac, go ahead and put the download link back up on the screen so people can see it. And thank you everybody for joining us today, and happy training.